I think the biggest thing you can do for your child in any sports, I would imagine, especially in basketball, is have them develop a love for the game. Okay, I think again, those highly successful athletes at the core, more often than not every single one, but more often than not, have this sort of real passion, obsession sometimes even, and love for the sport that they do. That's why they put in the hours and hours and hours and hours without being asked to do it, without anyone knowing they're doing it. Suddenly people think they're just, number one in the world because of what they do, because what they were just naturally God gifted talents. Okay. And I think we talk about all the time with basketball, like, my kids sometimes go, oh, wow, that guy who walked past us is 7 foot tall. He must be good at basketball. but we all know that that's not the case. Okay, just because he's tall, if he's never put in any work, okay, and he's never actually put himself in a position where he loves the game of basketball, he probably can't even dribble a ball. He probably can't even shoot it. Doesn't care that if he's 7 foot tall. Okay, and I think that's the part where it's so important in his first few seasons, okay, and when you're starting off, okay, that you create that right environment and atmosphere for your child to really just love what they're doing. Okay, so whether they love watching the clips online nowadays, whether they love playing 2K at home with their friends or with whoever else is at home, whether they love to talk about basketball, and whether they want to love to just pick up that basketball and go shoot around in the driveway, or walk down to the park, or play, with friends at school. I think that's a real area where you really want to, ensure that you encourage, because basketball is one that you can do it. You can do it in so many areas. Even if it's at night, you still involved in basketball by gaming 2K, as you obviously alluded to earlier, and it's something that really I think is important, because again, so many kids I've seen, once they get through, and they're quite talented kids, obviously, and they're probably about, maybe in 15, sort of at that sort of age, in their mid-teenage years, if they don't have that love for the game, as talented as they are, they're the ones that often go, nah, I'd rather just work, get a job.
Mm.
I'd rather just work and get a job. Nah, I'd rather just go to that party. Nah, I'd just rather play footy. Okay. So if you haven't developed that love for the game by that point, then, doesn't matter how great you are, doesn't matter how athletic you are, how many points you score. Okay. Often by that age, you can sort of see that, nah, they're not really, they don't have that ingrained in them.
Yeah, look, and you can't force it either. We can talk about trying to identify, create healthy habits, but if basketball's not their thing, it's not their thing. And so, you have to look at it as, I guess I'll bring it back, those social connections as well. There's a chance that they get paired up or they play basketball with someone who also plays footy, and that's their gateway to footy that they didn't have otherwise, or that person is someone who grows up to do the same uni course as them or move to the same town. There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of research that goes into just playing team sports in general, just having the discipline to have a regular commitment and show up to it, and even if you're not feeling up to it, you still give it a go, and all of those benefits. And so when you invest your child into sport, you are doing it for those reasons, and anything extra is the bonus, right? So the one parent that's lucky that does get the next prodigy who brings home $20 million is, that's the bonus, right? But you can't go in with that expectation. And even, you notice it all the time in the NBA, parents of great players don't typically have children who end up being on par with what their level of success was. Bronny James Jr., who's coming through now and it keeps getting touted as things, he potentially only gets drafted due to the status of the name / the weird kind of association that LeBron will join that team. He's actually, like, he's good, he plays basketball, he loves it, but it just doesn't always translate. And so, as the average Joe, I played a little bit of basketball when I was younger. It's past me now. If I have kids and put them into it, doesn't mean that they're even going to be as good as me, and I wasn't good enough to go to certain levels anyway. So it's just like, it's reality check stuff. I don't know how to say it nicely.
Look, I think the point it feels like worth alluding to here as well is that it's sort of the flip side of that coin, though. We talk about these kids that are passionate about basketball that do obviously join a club and play. Okay, and I think that is important. Okay, like I said, I played for a few years at school initially. Once I got into a there was a team at school, but there's nothing more beneficial than the club structured competitive sport. Okay. Again, because I've coached so many years, I've seen so many different sort of families, I guess, and parents and players. Ultimately, there's that group of players that sometimes makes me a little bit disappointed, perhaps, that they love basketball. Okay, they love basketball, and they're often given the sort of feedback that, oh, well, you already play at school. Why do you need to play competitively? Okay,
Mm.
well, that's like you love drawing, but just here, just have a pencil and like never get any colors. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's a huge disappointment. You would as a parent myself, I would sort of feel that when your child exhibits an interest in something where suitable and appropriate, obviously, and don't get me wrong, cost is obviously a component too, is that you can try and encourage it. And I think the next step, obviously, with encouraging a kid that is interested in basketball is to join a club. Okay, because the competitiveness of being able to just get up on the floor and try to, ultimately try to beat another team on a weekend is a critical component of you developing your game as a basketball player. There's only so much that you can love and do and play at school. Okay, but unfortunately, you're probably tapping in, or not tapping into a passion that's there, but not developing it into a skill or talent ultimately.
Yeah, look, I think we've probably reiterated the whole point of parents just calm down a little bit, give them the opportunities to succeed, but do it within reason. So I guess the extreme side of that is if you enroll your child into some competitive basketball, don't enroll them in two other clubs so that they play on different days or different nights and overdo it. But also don't keep jumping clubs because you want that instant gratification of, oh, well, my child who clearly can't dribble with their left hand or even dribble confidently around defense, well, the coach always subs them off when the game gets close, or the coach doesn't keep them on for long periods of time. I'm not getting the development that I deserve. I should go elsewhere. Development doesn't occur naturally during games. Games are typically where you see payoff for all of the training habits. So if your child's doing the
Absolutely.
training habits and getting exposed to that, in those sessions, they are getting quality coaching or they're getting the quality experience. It's just currently not translating to the page. So to go on with your drawers analogy, they're great at sketching in their sketchbook, but when it comes time to do an exam, where they got 30 minutes to draw something, we're not getting the finished product that we know that they're capable of or that they're starting to demonstrate there, because it hasn't condensed itself to that kind of crunch time performance mode just yet. And that happens in so many different things.
Mm,
And
mm,
again, to bring it back to learning, when you get a kid to do a test, or we get kids to do NAPLAN, for example, that's a day with those questions, and it's not always everyone's cup of tea, and it's not always indicative of true performance. It's just simply what they were able to do today. And so, again, to bring it back, that kid that hit 8 out of 10 free throws on that hypothetical, if you're a really good player who practices every day and you hit 2 out of 10, that one performance doesn't mean that, well, okay, well, it's not working, maybe find something else. It's just that one performance,
not
and you can
not
take it or leave it.
not at 8 years old. That's the point.
Yeah.
Not at 8 years old, right?